Hi, everybody. This episode, I wanted to talk about your design taste. Now, that's something that sounds like something that should be done only in black turtlenecks with thick black rimmed glasses, but design taste is something that you kind of figure out by walking around the earth. Here's you walk, walk, and then you see with your eyes, and then you see with your eyes. And, over the course of your life, you just form opinions. And hopefully you have friends that share those opinions. Like, for example, some people might, be around a bunch of friends where if they were to say, wow, that rock looks really cool or that mountain looks really cool, their friends might be like, what? It's a rock, man. Like, what are you talking about? Or wow, look at that sunset. Or oh, that's really beautiful or interesting. The thing with adults is adults aren't allowed to stop and observe anything anymore because adults are adults. They're supposed to do adult things and go to their job and continue walking from one destination to the next destination with intent. But God forbid an adult stands there and looks at something. If you try standing there and looking at something without your phone for no reason, like if you're in the mountains and you're on a hike somewhere and you stand there and just look at something, people will think you've gone crazy because adults aren't really allowed to look anymore. You got to stay busy or appear to be busy. But all artists, I think the way you cultivate an artistic expression of yourself is just by stacking one little piece of taste on top of the next. And you do that just when you walk around the normal world. So I thought, okay, one fun thing to talk about would be to discuss dog designs. Now, of course, God made all these designs. Well, not God. People forcing them to have sex with each other until we got the cutest versions possible, right? Because they all, I think, started from the wolf. And then we made all this madness. Walking around the world, you guys all see various breeds of dogs. And by the way, this isn't about your precious smooshy-kins that you love. I know you love your dog. This is not what it's about. This is just about critiquing dog designs separated from your emotional attachment to said dog. For example, you all love your moms, I'm sure. It doesn't have anything to do with how fluffy they are. But right now we're talking about dog designs. And if we're just being completely objective, and I think that's important, just among your inner circle, among your friends, among your art friends, it's important to be able to assess and critique sort of ruthlessly, just among yourselves, and to discuss ideas about what looks good, what doesn't look good, and then try to analyze why. And so, how do you rate your sort of reaction to something? How do you rate how much you like something? Well, I don't filter it through what I want to think. Sometimes you see someone who has a dog and their dog looks like them. Like, clearly, their dog is their brand, right? They bought a dog that they think represents them, the values that they have. For example, a tough guy who wants to appear tough is probably going to have a pit bull, maybe, to show that, no, this dog is like my car and my shirt and my gold chain. It's all about representing the ideals and the values that I want to represent through my dog. But I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to like something I don't like aesthetically or not like something I do like aesthetically. And I think that's important for every artist. You just have to like what you like, and then you're just stuck with that reality and trying to deal with it. So for me, walking around Earth, Pomeranians, it's always been Pomeranians. Every time I see a Pomeranian, I have a visceral reaction to it, and I can't control it. I'm like, holy shit, that is the cutest dog imaginable. And so what I wanted to do is kind of try to unpack for myself, and I encourage you guys to do this for yourself. You may be like, screw you, Shaddy. This is definitely not the cutest dog. I think they're disgusting. Fine. But you, for yourself, you have your own reaction to it, and then it's up to you to try to break it down. Now, for me, with Pomeranians, I think the foxy face, the little tiny fluffy ears, and the fur that makes these really simple shapes. So for me, I think it is, and also the picture is doing something for him. I'm picking the picture carefully. It's really simplified shapes. He's got this and this and this. And when it comes to stylization or exaggerating, this is a pretty exaggerated design. Like, as a designer, whoever designed this dog really pushed the shapes. The ears are not too pointy. They're a little roundy, so they're a little bit teddy bear. And then it's got something that I think brings it back into the realistic dog realm, which is that it has white fur on the underside and then it has brown fur on the top. There's something about the white fur underneath and the brown fur on top, that little transition that makes his face read really nicely. It gives you an understanding of the, changes of form. Like the top forms are kind of, this is called sable, by the way. I don't know why I know that. This dog color is officially called sable. Uh, so the top part has that little brownie, and then it's a little white around the nose. And what's interesting is this design actually naturally brings your eye to the focal point, right? He's got just a touch of white over each eye. He's got a little white and making a high contrast area on the nose. It's naturally the most contrasted by his mouth. And then he's got a little pink tongue, which is the most red part. So it's like a color focal point. So there's a lot of things naturally happening with a Pomeranian that is kind of amazing in terms of cuteness. And by the way, this is retroactively dissecting it. The point is, and this is the point for everyone, I think individually, is you just have a reaction. And then later you try to figure out what that reaction is. So, for example, I look at other dogs that look kind of like Pomeranians, like this dog, and I think to myself, okay, well, this dog is still cute. I mean, all dogs are cute. All right? Don't get all pissy in the comments about your dog being cute. Yes, all dogs are cute. We're just talking aesthetics here. Uh, this dog is cute, but this dog's cuter. So it kind of stands, and I'm trying to understand why. Well, it's probably because the ears are a little smaller and higher up. There's a little more roundness in the face. Um, the nose is a little bit shorter. I think the shortness of nose really is the thing that defines the Pomeranian as opposed to other kinds of cute dogs. It's the really short nose. And to kind of hammer that home, I found this one. I mean, Jesus. Goes from that, like, kind of cute, cuter, cutest. I mean, jeez. So, I mean, this one, everything is compacted even more. I mean, we're losing some of that sable coloring where the white is on the bottom, but it's even more cute. And in this case, the ears are a little bit hidden. So it's almost like we're losing some of the defining features of a dog in favor of cuteness. And with Pomeranians, it kind of goes even farther. All right, so here we're starting to lose a lot of things that define it as a dog. And for some people, that may make it less cute because the animal itself is attractive and cute to them. So for some people, Pomeranians, as they get farther and farther away from dog, so, like we're back here and we still have ears, but back here we basically just have a round shape and a face. It's a face in fur. Now, the fascinating thing about this is that this is more pushed than almost any design you could ever come up with. If you see a movie that has a cartoon animal, I don't know how you would even, I don't even know how much farther you could go than this. Because the ears aren't, now they're not even part of the silhouette. It's just literally a fur ball with legs and a face. But it does go farther. These, these are little white Pomeranian puppies. I think they breed them mostly in Korea. But, okay, now we're pretty far away from dog. And another picture, just to confirm that that is actually real, that this is real. We're getting to this point, and we almost are we're losing everything. We don't have any dog anymore. We have a face, and we have some shapes. We have a face, and we have some shapes. But pretty incredible how far this design is being pushed, because I thought that here there was nowhere else to go. But then this is just an outrage. But it's awesome because, as a designer, if you really dig enough research-wise, you'll find real life is a really extreme, oftentimes. And I think it goes one step farther. Okay, now this is just obscene. I don't know that this is real, but this is just a circular muffin with a face. Um, so, I previous to seeing these photos, I probably thought that the farther design was pushed, the better. But I think when we get to this point, it pointed out something important in that if we start to lose everything that even identifies it as a dog, it starts to become scary because then we don't even know what it is. Like if this was something evil that ate your brains, we would kind of believe it. And then I found this guy. You start to make his eyes a little bit weird. The fact that we can see the the light blue parts of his eyes and he's biting on your finger. Like this thing definitely would eat a person if they died in their own house and it just would happily chomp on it. Because now it's getting into the slightly grotesque. But, okay, we go from this, could we dial this back? Right? Could we dial this back and still keep some semblance of dogability in this design? Yes. Okay. So if we bring back some dog coloring, it kind of seems that we're back a little bit in the realm of dog. And we put a little bow on him, which is a physical object. And that is an interesting thing about design, too. Like one little element kind of changes the game. He gets a bow, or she gets a bow, and now all of a sudden we're like, okay, it at least looks like it lives in physical reality. Whereas these guys, I just don't even know what they are. Okay, so then what if we pull back away from Pomeranian but keep some of the same Pomeranian features? We come to Corgis. Now, obviously, Corgis are adorable, but part of what makes them adorable is they have awkwardly short legs that look wrong, from a design perspective. Like the top part of their body looks like it's a normal dog, and then all of a sudden it looks like it has legs that drop off at the knees. And there's, of course, something endearing about that. But looking at the combination of snout, nose, face, ears, and then I go back to this, I'm like, oh my God, this is so cute. And this is cute, but this is so cute. But then if you go to if you go to Corgi Puppy, all right, well now we're back to outrageous Pomeranian level cuteness. Um, Partly because the features are squished again, but in this case we have something extra that the little Corgi has, which is ears that are way too big. And that's not about like I think the Pomeranian is an exquisite design, but there's something to be said for a design that's off on purpose for funny and cute effect. And I think with a Corgi, giant ears and little legs adds something endearing that is more than just like aesthetic balance. It's actually aesthetic imbalance, but it has a benefit. All right, but in talking about Pomeranians, I was kind of making an assumption. I was making a story-based assumption about the purpose of the design that wasn't necessarily always going to be true. And my assumption was the dog is supposed to be cute, and I think it's really important because, as concept artists, you're designing for story, right? And the story in my mind was dogs are supposed to be cute. What is the cutest dog? I have an immediate reaction to that dog based on its cuteness. But what if we had a different story we were trying to tell, right? Then the design metrics would change. So I had another kind of dog that every time I see it, I gasp. And again, I didn't choose to feel that way. I just do. So I think that's really important because that's your artistic integrity. That doesn't mean it's like something you fight for, and if someone disagrees with it, you say, "I hate you." It's just what you naturally feel, and the dog that I have that feeling for is the Italian Greyhound because I can't believe how extreme this design is, and it's a testament maybe to what I like. But look at these shapes. I mean, oh my God! If you see these guys running around, they're so skinny and so skittish. But I think what's so beautiful about them is that they're so much dog, right? Pomeranian is like a fluff ball with a face. It's a dog, I guess, but it could be. It's basically a vessel of cuteness. This thing though, it has these dynamic movements. Look at that! Look at that body. It's incredible. Look at the twist, and every little bump shows up. And a lot of dogs have this? Yes, but this is such a beautiful combination of elements. Now you could look at all these dog breeds, and they all kind of have some of that stuff, right? This guy has a big head and some of the leg stuff, but none of the designs are pushed. Maybe this Saluki, which I'm not familiar with, has that. But, Jack Russell, Shiba Inu, they all have pieces of that, but none of their designs are pushed as far. So as a designer, I'm just really excited by how extreme this design is with a narrow neck that is like in line and the same size of the head. And then with these ears that come out like wings, it's such a cool element on the top. Such a beautiful element. And then the coloring, again, the coloring and the change in coloring is great to define it as a dog because it makes it an animal, especially when it has some random coloring. I think you can get away with, we saw with the Pomeranians, you can get away with a more outrageous design if you ground it with some sort of a variety of coloring, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, Italian Greyhounds. Here's another one. I mean, these shapes. If you were going to do a figure drawing class with dogs, you would want this. They're always extremely skinny too, which makes you able to really define all their muscles. But it's not just that they have muscles, is that the stylization of it is so intense. They go from that to this, and oh my God, that to that to that to that to that. Holy crap. This right here is just like a party of shapes and movement and asymmetry and design. Just in that little foot, it just touches the ground with a little bend. God, it's so intense. And then, of course, they have this, which is the soulful dog eyes, right? Which could be argued that a Pomeranian is missing. It could be argued that a Pomeranian's only thought is, whereas this dog looks like it can feel feelings. It's not true, of course. I think all dogs can feel, of course, but this has some soulful eyes. Plus, these dogs really look good in clothes, and I think part of the reason is they're freezing, and the other part is they're like supermodels. They're like so lean that like everything looks good on them, especially if it's sophisticated. So that's another layer. So I think between the Pomeranian and the Italian Greyhound, for me, they're both the most pushed versions of what all breeds are kind of trying to do. Of course, there's some exceptions, pugs and other stuff. But one dog that I particularly think is fine, but the design doesn't work for me. Is the Labradoodle, because when I look at a Labradoodle, and I've known Labradoodles, they're really nice, they're really fun dogs. We're just talking aesthetics here. Don't get mad. Um, they kind of, compared to the Italian Greyhound, they look like a dog that like fur was glued to, right? Because if you look at that versus that, okay, look at these unbelievable, unbelievable shapes. How dynamic and incredible they are. But with a Labradoodle, it's all nerfed a little bit, right? It's just a leg that's like that, and there's fur on it. And there's a leg that's like that, and there's fur on it. And this is just a symphony of movement and shape. Now, the Pomeranian's the opposite, but that's what I like. One is extreme in one direction, one is extreme in one direction, and the other one is extreme in the other direction. So nothing wrong with the Labradoodle, but it's just riding this middle line, and I want it to be one or the other. Like, where are we going? What are we doing? What's our design intention here? Are we going for maximum sleek Doge, or are we going for fluffily cuddle buns? And if we're doing fluffily cuddle buns, then why don't we just go that way? And if we're doing sleek, why don't we just go that way? So those two designs have a lot of courage, in my mind. Okay, Portuguese water dog. This is Obama's dogs, Sonny and Bo. And yeah, no, I'm not feeling it. It's like a lump of fur. Still cute. I love this dog. Of course, it's cute. It's like a person wearing a dog suit. But again, it's just one shape. And also, there's another problem here with the design is that when you and I feel this way about cars too. Like sometimes people buy supercars, right? You see them on the street, but when they're all black or all too dark, then or one color that you can't really see, then you can't read the shapes very well. Like you can't see his eyes. You kind of can't read his expression. He just kind of disappears because the eyes need contrast to pop. And one of the best examples of that is the panda, right? We love the panda bear. Panda bear is like the most ridiculously iconic and beloved animal on earth almost. And part of the reason is because of the almost too on the nose, ridiculous sort of patterning where his eyes are highlighted, his nose is highlighted. It's just really readable. And the round face. It's just really readable. Like the design in Kung Fu Panda wasn't even that exaggerated compared to a real life panda. All right, now if we want to get a little contrast going between the cutest Pomeranian possible, I tried to find the ugliest dog possible. If you type an ugly dog, you're going to have a lot of fun. My God, you know, and still cute, I actually think. But my God, I mean, it gets. It's the milky eye. It's the two different colored eyes that take it to the next level. But then again, I'm just curious for myself, what makes this dog or this dog so horrifying. And uh, it's the diaper part of it. I think obviously the skin with the lesions, the hair is very sporadically coming out of different places. The two different color eyes, I think the pose too, just this car seat. I think something that we forget about when it comes to design is that every design lives in context. And the more context you give it, and the context can be the pose, the expression, all of that stuff, it's a good trick actually, because if you are an artist and you really like a design, give it a slightly better pose and expression and attitude that is more connecting or appealing, and you'll be surprised how often people pick that design. If you did a character design with a cool outfit, but you did another one that had a way less cool outfit, but was posed more dynamically and in a more appealing way, everyone's going to pick the more dynamically posed one. It's crazy. Like, no one can see past it. And a good example of that is I found this other picture of what I would consider also, you know, kind of similar, but I don't have the same feeling about this dog. I'm not like, oh, Jesus. I mean, part of it is the eyes. So as a designer, you can say, okay, well, all things told, we at least need the windows to the soul to be sane, right? And when the windows to the soul, one is milky and one is bloodshot red, it makes it really, really hard to connect. But when the eyes are there and look healthy, um, it gets a lot easier. And now the other aesthetic factors, and this is interesting because one thing changed, kind of. It's not that much different from this one, not that much different, but it's a different pose. It's better lighting, and most importantly, this dog is smiling a little bit, and his eyes look a little bit squinty, and he's looking at us. So when we look at this dog, we don't think monster. I think California stoner, bro. I'm like, hey, brah, you guys want to smoke? And I want to hang out with this dog, right? Despite the hair, despite the missing, despite the fact that he's got some of the crazy stuff, but this guy looks grumpy, but he's not less attractive or not less pretty. This dog is just as crazy. But the pose, the expression, the eyes, and the lighting made a huge difference. So, you know, big picture here in concept art, what we always try to do is put things in context. And we pay attention, we try to all those little things. And I encourage you to as well, because they really influence people looking at your stuff. They really have an emotional impact on the viewer. It's not just about the design, it's often about the context and the attitude as well. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Talk soon.